Welcome to the Podkey Summary of San Diego. San Diego can look simple from a distance. Beaches, sunshine, maybe a zoo trip, maybe a Navy town. But the real story is a lot more layered than that. It's a cross-border metro tied tightly to Tijuana, a city shaped by the military and by science and tech, and a place where canyons, climate, housing costs, and civic drama all keep leaving their mark. And underneath all of it, there's a much older history that starts long before California had that name. One of the biggest things to understand about San Diego is that it really functions as part of a transborder metropolis with Tijuana. Together, that urban region was estimated at about 5 million people in 2022, making it the second most populous cross-border urban area in the Western Hemisphere. That's not some abstract planning phrase either. The San Isidro Port of Entry is the busiest international land border crossing outside Asia, and the fourth busiest in the world. And then there's Otay Mesa, which carries major commercial truck traffic. So people and goods are both moving through this relationship constantly. It gives San Diego a kind of double orientation. It's a U.S. city, obviously, but it's also deeply shaped by daily connection with Tijuana in a way most American cities just aren't. Another basic fact of San Diego is that the military footprint is enormous even now. The city hosts the world's largest concentration of naval fleet assets, including most of the U.S. Pacific Fleet surface combatants and the West Coast amphibious ships. Economically, that presence is huge. Military activity contributes roughly 25% of San Diego's GDP and about 23% of its jobs. That's a striking number, especially because the region has spent decades trying to diversify after Cold War defense cutbacks. So when people talk about San Diego as a biotech place or a wireless tech place, that's real. But the defense backbone is still very much there. The diversification story is one of the more interesting parts of modern San Diego. After contractions in the defense industry, the region pushed hard to become a research and technology center. By 2013, its biotech cluster was reported as the second largest in the United States, with more than 400 biotechnology companies. UC San Diego, Qualcomm, Illumina, and a long list of contract research organizations help anchor an economy built around wireless technology, life sciences, healthcare, and military research. It's one of those city economies that doesn't fit into one easy label. There's aircraft carriers, yes, but there are also genome sequencers and wireless patents in the mix. San Diego is often called the birthplace of California, and that title comes from the colonial timeline. Cabrillo claimed the bay for Spain in 1542, and then in 1769, the Presidio and Mission San Diego de Alcalá were established as the first European settlement in what is now California. But that story starts earlier than European settlement. Kumeyaay communities had lived in the region for thousands of years, including Kosaay, the village from which the later settlement grew. And that history includes resistance, not just founding ceremonies. In 1775, a Kumeyaay revolt forced the mission to relocate 6 miles upriver. So even the familiar origin story is really a layered one, with indigenous presence and conflict at the center of it. San Diego's weather has a reputation for being almost suspiciously pleasant, and most of the time, fair enough. But the climate is also surprisingly local. Marine clouds can keep coastal neighborhoods cool, gray, and damp, while places only 5 or 10 miles inland are sunny and a lot warmer. Hills, bays, and canyons create distinct microclimates, so two people in the same city can have slightly different versions of the day and both be right about it. The other side of that mild climate image is risk. San Diego only averages about 9 to 13 inches of rain a year, yet it faces severe wildfire danger. The 2003 Cedar Fire burned 280,000 acres, killed 15 people, and destroyed more than 2,200 homes. So the postcard version of the climate is real, but it leaves out the fragility. Those canyons and mesas do something else too. They preserve a surprising amount of habitat right inside and around the city. San Diego County has recorded 492 bird species, more than any other region in the United States, which is one of those wonderfully specific facts that birders probably know by heart, and the rest of us should probably respect. The city also includes major preserves like Torrey Pines, Mission Trails, and Los Penasquitos Canyon. But geography cuts both ways. The same canyons that protect habitat also divide neighborhoods. That has encouraged low-density development, longer trips, and a more car-centered urban form. San Diego's landscape is beautiful, but it's not exactly making life easy for urban planners. That geography shows up directly in transportation. More than 80% of residents use automobiles as their primary means of getting around, and newer suburban neighborhoods often just don't have the kind of dense street grids that make biking or transit truly practical. At the same time, San Diego does have some unusual and useful regional transit pieces. There's the San Diego Trolley, commuter rail links to Los Angeles, and the Cross-Border Express, the pedestrian bridge that connects directly to Tijuana International Airport. So, it's not a place with no alternatives. It's more that the alternatives exist inside a metro area that was largely built around the assumption that most people will drive. One of the biggest pressures on San Diego now is housing. In 2023, nearly 60% of homes listed for sale were priced above $1 million, and the median home price was about $910,000. That kind of cost becomes more than a personal headache. It turns into an economic constraint on the whole region. It has contributed to negative net migration since 2004, with people moving to less expensive inland areas like Riverside County or leaving the region altogether. So San Diego can attract talent, research, investment, and tourism, but keeping ordinary residents in the region is a much harder task. San Diego also has a civic history that's a lot messier than the laid-back image suggests. In 1912, the city became the site of a major free speech fight tied to anti-IWW enforcement, with civil disobedience, police violence, vigilantism, riots, and the killing of an Industrial Workers of the World member. And in more recent decades, local government has been marked by repeated scandals, including the pension underfunding crisis, corruption convictions involving city officials, and Mayor Bob Filner's resignation in 2013 after sexual harassment allegations and criminal charges. That history matters because it pushes back on the idea of San Diego as some effortlessly mellow place where conflict never really surfaces. It does, sometimes very publicly. For all that, San Diego has a strong cultural identity, and a lot of it runs through Balboa Park. The two world expositions there, in 1915 and 1935, left behind the Spanish and Baroque-style buildings that became some of the city's signature landmarks. And the exotic animal display at the 1915 exposition helped establish the San Diego Zoo, which is still one of the city's most recognizable institutions. Sports are a slightly more bittersweet story. San Diego has the Padres, San Diego FC, and San Diego Wave FC, but it has never won a championship in one of the traditional Big Four U.S. professional leagues, and it currently doesn't have an NFL, NBA, or NHL team. So there's plenty of civic identity, just maybe a little less trophy hardware than fans would prefer. San Diego ends up feeling like several cities layered onto the same terrain: border hub, Navy stronghold, research center, climate study, an expensive paradise with some sharp edges. That mix is what makes it interesting. It's not one postcard. It's a whole stack of them, and a few of them have smoke, traffic, and zoning fights on the back. This episode was generated by Podkey. Create your own at podkey.fm.